I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I just did like 5 minutes of the show before I realized I didn't hit record. So I was just having a gay old time just talking to myself. I was really hyped too about this whole Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald J. Trump feud. I was really hyped about what was going on with MTG and DJT and how their relationship is RIP. And then I looked up and I go, why is nobody commenting on the show? Oh, I forgot to hit go. The button actually says go live. And it was just blinking. It was staring me in the face. You know what? That happens. Sometimes that happens, especially on a Monday. What's up? This is Mark K. Saves the Republic. And I got to tell you, I'm not going to sleep anymore. I don't know. You should probably not sleep either, because every time I go to bed, it's almost uncanny. It's like Donald Trump waits till I'm asleep. I don't know how he does it. He's like Santa Claus. He knows when I'm sleeping. He knows when I'm awake. Maybe it's the FBI. Maybe he's got my house bugged. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He knows when I go to sleep, and then he picks up his phone, or he tells his assistant, the blonde girl, I forget her name, and he goes, all right, ready? He's asleep. Let's break forth with an amazing truth, so that when he wakes up in the morning at 5:30 a.m., he goes, gah! Look what I missed overnight. Donald Trump, and again, we'll go through the whole weekend, but basically, here's how the weekend broke down. President Donald Trump got so sick and tired of Marjorie Taylor Greene breaking ranks with him on all kinds of stuff, like, the Iran bombing, support for Israel, any kind of foreign involvement in that particular conflict. And most recently, yes, of course, the Epstein files, which have been newly brought to light by the Democrats. When the Democrats failed miserably at the shutdown, they said, break the glass. And then the Epstein files were released, or the Epstein emails that mentioned President Donald Trump's name were released. And that kind of, that was the light, that was the spark that lit the powder keg. And now, since the shutdown's over, since people are flying again, since all this other stuff is happening, since SNAP benefits are back. Oh, wait a minute. They're kind of back, but not really. That's brilliant, by the way. I got to tell you, Donald Trump knows how to take advantage of every single opportunity. There is no crisis. There's an opportunity. And this guy knows exactly how to take advantage of all of them. And more on that coming up in a minute. But he broke tie. He's like, that's it. I've had it. And he unendorsed Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not going to go through it again, because I did a whole video on it earlier. I did a whole special. That's another reason why you need to subscribe, by the way. This weekend, I dropped a special weekend edition of Mark K. Saves the Republic to blow the lid off and totally explain exactly what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald J. Trump, to show you exactly how this DJT MTG feud exploded. And how their relationship is now RIP. That was a special. It was like a special little, for those of you that were paying attention. Some people weren't. Some people haven't subscribed to the channel. You got to do that right now. You got to set the ding-a-ling. And that way you'll get notified every time I go live, whether it's on the weekend, whether it's during the weekday, whenever it is. The only time you won't get notified is when I forget to hit the button and I just start blathering onto myself for 5 minutes. which, by the way, was really good. I was really entertaining myself. So hopefully you're as entertained by this live show as I was entertained by the not live show that I was doing for myself just moments ago. But now, so last night, Donald Trump, he goes back on Truth Social, because again, this whole thing happened with the Epstein files. This whole thing happened because Donald Trump was trying to talk to these representatives in Congress who were signing on to the, they were signing on to the, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? They were signing on to the discharge. What is it? Why can't I? My brain. You know what? I must be getting older or something. Discharge petition. Thank you. That was signed to force the vote on the Epstein files this weekend. And now President Donald Trump has flip-flopped. He didn't want the discharge petition going forward. He didn't want the files to be voted on. He didn't want Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace and all these others. Didn't want any of them to do what they were doing, which was signing on to the discharge petition. But now he said, look, we're just gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna release him. In fact, he demanded in his Truth Social post last night that the House Republicans should vote. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics. in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, blah, 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 blah. Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, blah, 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 blah. I don't care, he writes in all caps. I don't care. He goes, whatever, have at it. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, our victory on reducing inflation, and the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for American people, historic tax cuts, all the others. You know the thing that Donald Trump likes, all the stuff that Donald Trump likes to talk about. He wants to get back on message. He wants to get back on track. He knows we have midterm elections that we have to win. We must win. And so now President Donald Trump he's trying to get the vote now passed so that we can move on, which again, I have to add, because here's the thing. People have been asking me this question. By people, I mean my kids, my wife, people that I run into on the street. People have been texting me. They all want to know about Donald Trump and the Epstein files. And I have to tell you, Donald Trump, for anyone that believes, for anyone that believes that Donald Trump is somehow implicated in anything illegal in the Epstein files, you have to push that aside. There is none of that. If there were, we already would have seen it. Because keep in mind, the Democrats have made up, lied about, fabricated all kinds of things. They've written phony dossiers to try to implicate Donald Trump in the worst possible things. None of it took. So if they had something real, if they had something concrete, if they had something that actually existed, if they had something they could point to and say, wow, look, Donald Trump's a horrible person, it's all right here in these Epstein files, they would have released that. That would have been the front page of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Washington Post, all those posts, not the New York Post, the New York Times, the Washington Post. Well, I mean, it would have been on the New York Post as well. But, all of them, all those. What was the Democracy Dies in Dark? That was the Washington Post, right? Do they still do that, by the way? Hopefully they're done. Hopefully they're over that whole thing. The whole democracy dies in dark. Man, those were some whiny people over there. I got to tell you, those were some whiny people over there at the Washington Post complaining about Jeff Bezos buying their. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So anyway, so Donald Trump is now saying, look, release the files. Let's just move on with it. In fact, this is exactly what Tim Burchett tried to do last week. You may remember our good buddy Tim Burchett, Congressman Slingblade. Yeah, we got to release the file. We got unanimous consent. And he wanted a unanimous consent vote. He wanted unanimously for the entire House, Democrats, Republicans, Thomas Massey, all of them. He wanted everybody to come together and vote unanimously to release the Epstein files. And he got blocked, man. He got blocked. Like he was a lineman or he was like a running back on Sunday. I had a football metaphor, but I totally just butchered it. And so you have to think to yourself, well, if Democrats are saying don't release the Epstein files and Donald Trump is saying do release the Epstein files, who's really going to be implicated when the Epstein files get released? Now, the vote is set for sometime this week. When is vote on Epstein files? I'm pretty sure it's late in the week. I don't know that a vote has been set yet. House is expected to vote on Epstein files. Here we go. Let's see if it's USA Today. I don't really trust it, but here we go. A House vote is expected on November 18th. Oh, that's tomorrow. Never mind. I was totally wrong. On legislation to force, I'm okay admitting when I'm wrong, by the way. On legislation to force the Department of Justice to release more files related to convicted sex offender and accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. By the way, I heard somebody call him Epstein the other day. Have we not heard this man's name enough in the last 5 years? Do we not all know it's Epstein? I mean, is it not like I feel calling him Epstein at this point? I mean, come on, that's basic. That's basic. It comes less than a week after Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson bowed to mounting pressure to schedule a vote following a bipartisan group of lawmakers' use of an obscure petition to bypass House leadership opposition to bringing the matter to the floor. I don't know that it's that obscure, but okay. The legislation in question, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, has sparked turmoil within the president's party, as several GOP lawmakers publicly side with many Democrats pushing for its passage. Now, notice it says many Democrats because a lot of Democrats don't want it passed. They don't want this stuff out. Among the most vocal is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose support for releasing Epstein files has contributed to a public feud with President Donald Trump. Lawmakers behind the legislation had seized on renewed focus over the disenfranchised financier after Democrats in the House on November 12th released thousands of emails from Epstein. Several bombshell messages discussed Trump, including emails from Epstein that said Trump spent many hours at my house with a victim and allegedly knew about the girls. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know the rest of the thing. Here we go. What could be subject to release by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, or the EFTA? EFTA. EFTA. Under the proposed House bill, Attorney General Pam Bondi would have 30 days from when the act passes to release all unclassified materials related to the convicted sex offender. This includes all materials related to investigations, prosecutions, or custodial matters involving Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, including flight logs and travel records and individuals named or referenced in the inquiry. The bill notes the names of government officials are subject to publication. So on and so forth. Anyway, so a lot of people are saying, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene ruined her relationship with President Donald Trump. Donald Trump started calling her Marjorie Trader Greene, which I have to give credit where credit is due. I'm pretty sure that Laura Loomer was the first person to refer to Marjorie Taylor Greene as Marjorie Trader Greene. I want to say it was Laura. I'm pretty sure that's been a long-standing, before Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene had it out over the weekend. Laura Loomer has long not been a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene and has been referring to her as Marjorie Trader Greene. Donald Trump has now adopted it, as we heard yesterday when he was asked this question by a member of the media on the tarmac.
Greene said her life could be at danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he says.
Marjorie Trader Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Oh, sick burn. First of all, she goes, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You mean Marjorie Trader Greene? He corrects her. He's like, Marjorie Trader Greene. That's how she's that her new name. Your new Delta Tau Chi nickname is Marjorie Trader Greene. Why Trader? Why not? Sorry. That's I just had a flashback to college. There for a minute, but that's Donald. He's saying, look, I don't think anybody cares about her. Why would anybody harm her? Why would anybody threaten her life? Nobody cares at all about her. Well, nobody except for CNN. Scott Jennings was on CNN and he totally, I guess, embarrassed. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of embarrassed herself on CNN, and then Scott Jennings went on CNN and embarrassed her even further. I think we should probably we'll go in order. First, Marjorie Taylor Greene went on CNN to apologize, which is kind of weird. I was okay with, here's the thing. I didn't really care about this whole thing at the beginning. And when it first started, I thought, oh, this will be some great content for my Facebook page. That's why I thought, oh, I'm going to post on TikTok about this and it's going to blow up, and boom, it sure did. But basically what I was thinking was, I was thinking to myself, I go, this is all kind of pointless. It'll all kind of blow over, and I don't really think there's anything to it. But then Marjorie Taylor Greene did something that I really did not like. And she went on CNN and she apologized. And it's not that, first of all, I don't think she had anything to apologize for, but she did. Second of all, the fact that you go on CNN and apologize, it reminded me a lot of when she was yucking it up with the ladies on The View. And they were joking about her becoming a Democrat. So, in fact, I have that clip too. Maybe we'll start with that clip.
Well, I want to talk about MAGA voters who believed that the president made promises like lowering grocery prices on day one. Right now, grocery prices, inflation is up, soybean and cattle farmers are on the verge of bankruptcy. Millions have lost their food stamps and are about to lose their health care, while we're watching $40 billion to bail out Argentina. What is going on?
I don't know. I am so America first. I feel like I live it and breathe it. And that's my district, and that's what people want. They are so tired of their hard-earned tax dollars being sent overseas to foreign wars and foreign aid and foreign causes, while life in America just becomes more and more unaffordable. We want this money invested at home for our infrastructure, for programs, for our people, and most importantly, for my children's generation and their children and their children and generations to come. And I have to say, that's what I've campaigned on the entire time. Everybody's like, Marjorie Taylor Greene has changed. And I'm like, oh no, nothing has changed about me. I am staying absolutely 100% true to the people that voted for me and true to my district. And I am so angry when I drive around my district to all these beautiful little rural small towns. And there's manufacturing plants that are crumbling from decades of lost industry, small businesses that got shuttered during COVID lockdowns and COVID shutdowns. And you want to know something else, Whoopi? So many veterans that went over and had to fight in some war that really had nothing to do with where they were from or their hometown, and their lives and families' lives have been so affected. So for me, I am unapologetically America first, and I'll do anything I can to work hard to save
Maybe you
this
should
country.
become a Democrat, Marjorie.
No, I'm not a Democrat. You want to know something? I'll say this. I think both parties have failed.
Oh, okay. Well, we can agree that there's failures in both parties. But that was her just having a look. Whoopi was even nodding. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Whoopi Goldberg were vibing. And Joy Behar's joking with me, why don't you come on over and become a Democrat? Ha, ha, ha. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But then she went on CNN and she apologized.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another. And we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements.
Now she's got Dana Bash agreeing with her. Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg, Dana Bash, Joy Behar, they're all huge Marjorie Taylor Greene fans. And my problem with this apology is, first of all, why go on CNN and apologize? Did you somehow... Well, CNN's never apologized to you. CNN's never apologized to me. CNN's never apologized to Republicans for calling us terrible, horrible names, for calling us white supremacists and Nazis and deplorable, terrible, horrible people. I never got an apology from anyone on the left. And when you want to talk about toxic politics, is it really the right that needs to apologize for toxic politics, or politics, as I like to call it? Toxic politics. I just coined that, by the way. You can use that, but now you have to credit me. You have to say, for example, when you talk about toxic politics, you have to say, or as Mark K calls it, politics. But when we have these toxic political conversations or whatever, isn't it the left that always starts it? I remember Jake Tapper having any Republican that right after the election in 2020, any single Republican that CNN had on, Jake Tapper would start by asking them if Joe Biden was the actual president of the United States of America. It didn't matter if they were talking about oil drilling. It didn't matter if they were talking about, the economy. It didn't matter if they were talking about abortion. It didn't matter what the topic was. It was, hey, listen, before I get to the question that I brought you on here, do you believe Joe Biden is the president of the United States of America? And if you answer the wrong way, blah, 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 blah. And it was toxic. The left is the one shooting people. Let's see. Who got shot twice, or who got shot once during the election and almost assassinated again if it weren't for the Secret Service finding the assassin hiding in the bushes at the golf course? Was it Joe Biden? No. Was it cackling Kamala Harris? No. Was it Ron DeSantis? No. Was it Nikki Haley? No. It was Donald Trump. Donald Trump shot in the head in Butler, Pennsylvania. Donald Trump, the target of another assassination plot at his own golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida. Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz, do you remember when Matt Gaetz said there's 5 assassination teams that we know of that are currently hunting President Donald Trump? 5. And I imagine at least a couple of them were homegrown. Some of them were probably, yes, Iran and other Hamas and other terrorist organizations. But I imagine there were a couple of homegrown that Matt Gaetz knew about, that people in Congress knew about, that Donald Trump knew about. Who was it that shot and killed Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University when he was, peacefully debating with folks on the left? It was a Democrat. And that is where that's where the politics comes from. It's toxic politics from the left. It's attacks from the left, repeated over and over and over and over again. And then the right comes back and says, look, we're going to defend ourselves. We're not just going to sit here and take it. And all of a sudden, oh, you guys, we got to calm down the rhetoric. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, I was all about it, right? I was like, fine, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump are arguing over the Epstein files. Fine, they're arguing over Iran. Marjorie Taylor Greene is running for president, so she doesn't care if she has Donald Trump's endorsement anymore. I get it, because let's be honest, that's what she was trying to do, run for president. Or at least, I think she was trying to run for president. Who knows? But now that she's on an apology tour, see, I'm not about that at all. You want to run for president, but don't hide from your past. You want to run for president, but don't apologize for being a conservative. If you want to run for president, but don't turn around and say, you know what, I was wrong to support President Donald Trump all these years. Because a lot of people didn't think you were wrong. A lot of people that voted for you didn't think you were wrong. And I think that one of the big problems, and I'm not saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is Liz Cheney by any way, shape, or form, but Liz Cheney went to Washington, D.C., and instead of representing the people and her constituents in her district, she represented herself and her own beliefs. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Liz Cheney, oops, Freudian slip. Oopsie. Liz Cheney got elected in Wyoming. What did I say? Wisconsin? I mean, Wyoming. Hold on. Let me rehash. Liz Cheney from Wyoming, daughter of Dick, may he rest in peace. Liz Cheney went to Washington, D.C. She was elected by the majority of her district in Wyoming, which is the whole gosh darn state. Donald Trump also elected by the majority of her district in Washington, D.C. Ergo, we believe that the constituents in Wyoming wanted President Donald J. Trump to be the president. Liz Cheney goes to Washington, D.C. and goes, I don't like Donald Trump. I don't want him to be the president. I don't care what my constituents think. I'm going to stab him in the back. I'm going to sit on the J6 committee, and then I'm going to vote to impeach him not once, but 2 times. Los dos tiempos. And what happened? She got voted out. Why? She's not representing the people that sent her there in the first place. Think of that. If you don't represent the people in your district, they're not going to send you to Washington, D.C. to represent them anymore, are they? Marjorie Taylor Greene, she decided that she's going to run for Congress again, but now she's going out and apologizing for supporting President Donald Trump, somebody that I believe everyone in her district wanted her to support because, let me check, yep, they also voted for President Donald Trump. And I think given the choice, they would rather have President Donald Trump as their president than Marjorie Taylor Greene as their representative. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, much like AOC, much like Jasmine Crockett, much like all these other people, is not content to just be the representative from Georgia 14. Wait, hold on. I'm having a brain. Georgia 14, right? Georgia 14. Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia 14. Hold on. 14 district. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia 14. That's how I remember it. Although that's not really, doesn't make sense because there's like 8 other teens. It could have been 15. Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia 15. Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia 16. So, but that's how I remember. Anyway, but the people back in Georgia 14 would much rather support President Donald Trump, I'm sure, than Marjorie Taylor Greene. But anyway, she wasn't just content. Marjorie Taylor Greene had ambitions, man. She had aspirations. And she wanted to rise above being just the representative from Georgia 14. She wanted to maybe be a senator from Georgia, or maybe she wanted to be the governor of Georgia, Governor Greene of Georgia, or maybe who knows what she wanted to do, but we know it wasn't just serve in Congress for the rest of her days. And Donald Trump showed her a poll and said, because, here's what happens. When you're a representative like Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you have a name, like everybody knows her name, she has usurped Georgia 14. Marjorie Taylor Greene is known far and wide, the world over. Infamous, famous, whatever you want to call it. You show a picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene to somebody in Zimbabwe and they're going to be like, oh, MTG. Thumbs up or thumbs down, who knows? But when you get to that point, you think to yourself, okay, I've got all this prominence. I've got all this name recognition. I've got all this popularity. I've got all this money that I've made somehow. I'm gonna use it to step up the ladder to the next step. And what's the next step? Senate. And wouldn't you know it, there is a Democrat in Georgia named John Ossoff, former failed actor turned politician, John Ossoff. And John Ossoff is running again for re-election in 2026. And John Ossoff, being a Democrat, the Republicans think is a target. Why? Well, because Georgia's a red state now. Again, it voted for President Donald J. Trump in 2024. Georgia, what was that? Someone's running around outside my house. Georgia is a red state. And being a red state, they feel like we probably don't need two of these Democrats in the Senate. We don't want John Ossoff anymore. We definitely don't want Raphael Warnock. And the Republicans are thinking, if we get the right person, if we get the right man or woman in there, if we get the right candidate this time around, we could take that seat back. And they've tried it in the past, man. They had a couple of really decent candidates in the past that they thought could win the Senate election. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, knowing what the Republicans know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, knowing that John Ossoff is a weak candidate, that he's not exciting, that it's a red state, and that Republicans are going to put a lot of money in Georgia to try to win back that seat. Knowing all of that, Marjorie Taylor Greene raised her hand and said, I'll do it. And then Donald Trump said to her, you know, the polls disagree with your enthusiasm for running for Senate. And that's exactly what Scott Jennings told her on CNN.
Technically true, based on what I've heard and what I know, that he didn't tell her not to run, but what she didn't say was that he sent her a poll privately, discreetly, and it had information in it. And it showed her down 20 points to John Ossoff. And so in politics, when you want to send a message to someone that you like or that has been an ally, you don't embarrass them publicly. You privately send them information and show them what the reality is. And so I think it's true that he didn't tell her not to run, but it's also true that he did her a big favor, which is to show her information that a candidacy statewide in Georgia for her would have been a disaster.
Yeah. So basically what Donald Trump did was he said, look, he knows, being the head of the party, it's his job, right? Donald Trump is the head of the Republican Party. He's the head of the country. He's the head of the world, really. But he's the head of the Republican Party. It's his job to sign off on whoever's going to run in Georgia. And a poll comes across his desk, and they've polled Marjorie Taylor Greene against John Ossoff in 2026, and John Ossoff wins by 20 points. That means that while Marjorie Taylor Greene may be popular in her district, she's not popular in the state of Georgia. She's not going to win in DeKalb County and all the other places she needs to win in. She's not going to win in Atlanta and the suburbs. She's not going to win across the state. She may not even win in, Savannah and other parts of the state that are more liberal. She may not even win in some of the red sections of the state because Marjorie Taylor Greene is a firebrand. And while a small district, Georgia 14 rather, admires her and wants her to represent them, the whole state may not. And Donald Trump, yeah, he could have come out and said, don't run, Marjorie. You'd be terrible candidate. Marjorie Taylor Greene cannot run. It's horrible. He didn't do that. What he had to do was he had to let her know discreetly, as Scott Jennings points out. So he sent her the poll. And he said, hey, look at this poll. It's not happening it's not in the cards. And maybe she took that personally. Maybe she took it personally. Maybe she didn't. But I think now she said, forget it. If I can't run for Senate or governor, I think maybe she's setting her sights higher. And I think she wants to run for president. Why do I think that? Well, because she went on The View and made nice with the ladies on The View. She went on The View and joked around about potentially becoming a Democrat. She went on The View. She went on The View and badmouthed Republican. I don't know if you know this, but she badmouthed a bunch of Republican content creators.
I think there's a lot of paid social media influencers. Mm-hmm. And I found it very interesting that they were the MAGA accounts, but they're all paid. Mm-hmm. And they all attacked me when I announced I was coming to join you ladies on The View. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very weak and pathetic. But when I talk about weak Republican men, I'm pretty much talking oftentimes about the leadership in the House and the Senate. Mm. And they're not getting our agenda done.
All right, so she's attacking Mike Johnson, she's attacking John Thune, and she's attacking conservative paid influencers. By the way, how do you get that job? How do I get If there's how do I get the paid influencer job? I talk about all this stuff for free. I'd like to get paid for it. Oh, by the way, Renee sent us a super chat. Thank you. Look at that. Renee dropped $20 on us today. And she wrote, I can't believe DJT is throwing down with MTG. She is original MAGA or MAGA. She is OG MAGA, but is she still OG MAGA? Now she claims that she's America only. America first, make America great again. America first, and now America only. So there seems to be this kind of, hierarchy, or there seems to be this kind of, this metamorphosis in Marjorie Taylor Greene's life as to what she stands for. But Renee, we really appreciate that very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Renee Hensley. Everybody please say thank you to Renee. And check this out. Mariah, not to be outdone, dropped a $20 super chat. And she wrote, our president has not ever been implicated. Many others, will be, however. The exposing of the files will probably be delayed. Mariah is a very intelligent person. I can tell that for a couple reasons. Number one, she listens to this show. Number two, she invested in this show. This is it. I don't want to be I don't want to be like Harry Sisson, where the Democrat Party cuts me a big fat check for $100,000 and says, talk about this. I don't want to be like whoever Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about, who gets, a $100,000, $1,000 check from, I don't know, the Republican Party or AIPAC or whoever, and says, talk about this. I don't want to be like any of those folks. I want to be the guy who just gets $20 from all y'all, and I'll talk about what you guys want, which is, I assume, the truth, which is why you're here. And Mariah, thank you. Thank you so much. But you're right on the money too. You're right on. I mean, that no pun intended. Oh, wait. There we go. What happened there? Yeah. You're right on the money too, because there will be a delay. If this thing is voted on tomorrow, which supposedly it's going to be voted on tomorrow, and if it passes, which supposedly it's going to pass, that gives 30 days to the DOJ to release the files, and they'll take all 30 days. I wish they wouldn't. I wish they'd just release them, but they'll take all 30 days. They'll probably redact some more stuff. They'll probably, I don't know, maybe they'll classify some other stuff. Who knows what's going to happen? But it will be it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be like we're all going to get text alerts as soon as the vote, which I think is how it should be. As soon as the House passes, there should be like a file ready to go and like bling, we all get it. But again, the Democrats are really the wild card in all this, right? I mean, the Democrats, they're always the flipping wild card, but they're the wild card in this for me, because we know Bill Clinton, the sleazeball in chief. Like, we know what Bill Clinton is capable of. We know the countless women. Juanita Broderick, does she still listen to this show? We should get her on the show. I don't know if she does. I don't think she does interviews, but she's been a longtime follower of this show. And I follow her on X. She follows me on X. She'll tell you everything about Bill Clinton, and she'll tell you everything about. Is she? Hold on. What happened to her? I haven't seen her in a while. Think about it. Yeah, here it is. Oh, Renee. Yeah, okay, she's still there. Juanita Broderick. She'll tell you everything. If you don't follow her, you should give her a follow. She'll tell you everything you need to know about Bill Clinton and his lechery. She was right there, man. She had the front row seat to the whole thing, to the whole scandal. And we all did, right? We all know exactly what happened. But we know that we know that all of this stuff. Oh, she's cursing, so I'm not gonna show too much of it. But we know that Bill Clinton, we know what he's capable. We know what he's done. He admitted it. We know about the Monica Lewinsky scandal. We know that there's been others. And we know about the multiple flights, the multiple times that Bill Clinton hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, the multiple times that Jeffrey Epstein came to the White House while he was president. I mean, it is well known. And that's one of the reasons why these documents have been held, close to the chest, and they've not been released. And I can't imagine that the Clintons and the Obamas and the Pelosi's and everybody else, Susan Rice, I can't believe all of these people who, I mean, to be honest, they really are still in control of the Democrat Party. I can't believe any of them would want these files released. They would not want when you think about it, they would not want their high priests of the Democrat Party to be implicated in such a scandal, because everybody else, think about this, everybody else comes off of that tree, except for the people who are the loudest people in all this, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders people, they have no connection to the Clintons, but everybody else does. The Obamas, think about how many Democrat disciples there are working in government and working in the media. George Snuffleupagus on ABC, who just had to pony up $16 million because he called Donald Trump a convicted R-word when Donald Trump was not. George Snuffleupagus, that guy is a direct descendant of the Clinton White House. He was a deputy communications director. And if Bill Clinton gets implicated, or if Bill Clinton comes down, or if Bill Clinton goes to jail, his entire White House, many of whom still have prominent positions in Washington, they all crumble. And then the subpoenas start to fly. And then George Snuffleupagus has to go and talk about what he knew. And I imagine that guy knows a lot that he would have to confess under oath. And he doesn't want any of that. Has George Snuffleupagus been demanding the release of the Epstein files? Not as vocally as other people. George Stephanopoulos. There are people at ABC News. Do you remember Amy Robach? Amy Robach was a reporter. I actually worked with her in DC for a while. She was a traffic reporter in DC. She went to go work for ABC News. She worked on Good Morning America. Then she had some kind of scandal with one of the guys that worked there. Anyway, she got divorced and they're together now. And it was a big scandal. But before that, you may remember that she investigated Bill Clinton and the Epstein files, and she had all of it. And ABC squashed it. I want to say because of Prince Andrew. But let me see if I can find that clip real quick. But she was devastated because she worked for like a year, for like months. She worked months on this whole thing. And then they told her to shut it down.
Years I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not.
Here, let me pull this up, make it a little bit bigger here.
Put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
Clinton. We had everything. Look at her face. She's like, it's unbelievable. We convinced this poor woman to come out and talk to us. She implicated Prince Andrew. The network was afraid, we're not going to get royals access anymore. And she goes, we had everything. Clinton, we had everything.
Well, what we had, Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago. So do I think?
Yeah. So that was Amy Robach, and that was a bombshell. And after that, guess what happened? Her career kind of, and now she's gone, and she's not on TV anymore. She should have had a podcast, man. If it was the podcast days like Candace Owens, forget about it. She could just start a podcast. She could have been the next Megyn Kelly, but. She maybe she still could. Maybe you know what? She should take my podcast profits course because I can teach her exactly how to create a podcast and do what we do, say what she wants to say, and create an entire empire off of it, just like we have over here with our K-Trade Network. But that's where we are, man, and that's exactly what's happening. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and everybody else had for years trying to get these files released. But I don't think the Democrats are going to do it because it seems to me that the Democrats are more involved in this than anyone else. Prince Andrew's not a Democrat per se, but Will and Kate basically are. And the Democrats love the royals and they don't want to do anything. And they're not big fans of President Donald Trump at all. They don't want to be further embarrassed. They've already had to take away Prince Andrew's titles and everything else. It's ridiculous. There's no way. I would be shocked if there were enough Democrat votes in this discharge petition, this forced vote on the floor tomorrow to push these Epstein files out. And if there aren't enough votes, then you've got to pay very close attention to who doesn't vote the right way. You've got to pay very close attention and say, all right, which one of these Democrats didn't vote the right way? Which Democrat is it that decided, we don't need to see all the truth about the Epstein files? Because that's going to be very, 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 very telling. Very telling. Hey, speaking of Democrats who commit crimes, Adam Schiff is also still in some hot water, and James Comer is not letting this one go. James Comer was on Fox News talking about Adam Schiff and how not only is he a horrible person because of all the crimes he committed in Congress, but also he's a fraudster.
Talk about Adam Schiff. Not only is this coming to light that he leaked classified data, that he colluded with the media to try to create a false narrative to hurt our president of the United States, to hurt our foreign policy, to influence the elections. But he's also involved in a mortgage scam. So I think that the walls are closing in on Adam Schiff, and I think the Department of Justice has ample evidence now to move forward and hold Adam Schiff accountable for the many crimes that he's committed.
Committed is the word he was saying. But, here's the thing about that. This isn't the first time we've heard the phrase, I think the Department of Justice has ample evidence to hold them accountable. I think we've heard that. I hear that phrase a lot. In fact, if I had a dime for every time I heard the phrase, I think the Department of Justice now has enough evidence to hold them accountable, I wouldn't need any more super chats. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. The Department of Justice has enough evidence to hold so many people accountable of so many crimes, and yet for whatever reason, they haven't held anybody accountable for any crimes. There are so many potential indictments that we've been waiting for so many of these Democrat, ne'er-do-wells that have been trying to weaponize the government against President Donald Trump and against Republicans forever. The January 6th committee. Where are those? We're still waiting on those subpoenas. Adam Schiff, of course, Letitia James. There just is, I don't know if it's a backlog. I don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes, but every single time James Comer or somebody else gets up there and says, well, I think the DOJ has ample opportunity, or Kash Patel, he's the other one. Kash Patel's always called in front of the Senate. Thomas Massey was grilling him the other day. He said, look, we gave everything we had to the Department of Justice. You'd have to talk to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice has it all. And there's a lot of people that are like, look, tick-tock, man. The clock is ticking. We need more indictments. Less talk, more indictments is the motto for the modern day Republican Party when it comes to Pam Bondi and the DOJ. There seems to be a real dragging of the feet when it comes to the DOJ and the indictments against some of these bad actors who have been attacking Republicans and President Donald Trump and everyone else for a very, 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 very long time. There's a couple of other stories that I wanted to share with you. One of them, by the way, is this story about Charlotte's Web. I don't know if you heard about this, but Charlotte's Web is there's an ICE, I guess you would call it an action or an ICE movement in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. And they are going through and they are getting rid of all of the illegal immigrants in Charlotte, North Carolina, because apparently in Charlotte, there's a lot of, I heard something like 1 in 4 people or 1 in 5 people are foreign born, and a lot of them are here illegally. So ICE has been cracking down in Charlotte. They call it Charlotte's Web.
It's also getting a lot of support since the goal is protecting Americans. And Border Patrol agents are already making progress by arresting dozens and dozens of illegal immigrants over the weekend, all in several areas of Charlotte. And as you mentioned, DHS is now confirming they already have 130 illegal migrants in custody. But we do expect that number to go up a lot. CBP Commander Gregory Bavino says most of those arrested have a, quote, significant criminal and immigration history. And he says those crimes range from assaults, DUIs, larceny to hit and runs. Here's Border Patrol Senior Advisor Ron Vitiello once again.
If you come across the border illegally, you're in the country illegally and you're subject to arrest. And they are going after the worst of the worst, and the data proves it so far. People that have committed heinous crimes in that area have already been arrested.
Yeah.
But as you can see in this video, a lot of people who live in Charlotte and local officials are not happy about this operation. During Saturday's massive protest, many people said they know immigrants who are now scared to leave their homes, and they say this will be a, quote, uphill battle.
Border Patrol being here is really going to affect how we live on a day-to-day basis, you know, we're going to be living in fear, constant fear that one day one of us might not come home.
In Harris, there was another smaller protest last night outside of the local DHS office. We do know that 2 people there were arrested. It's unclear exactly why, but as you can imagine, things are changing rapidly on the ground here.
Yeah, so also a lot of people not happy with Charlotte's Web in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know who else is not happy with Charlotte's Web? E.B. White's granddaughter. E.B. White authored the children's book Charlotte's Web about Wilbur the pig, some pig. Radiant, wonderful. What was the humble or another one? Anyway, Charlotte's Web author E.B. White, his granddaughter of Charlotte's Web author, criticizes use of book title in DHS immigration crackdown operation. In the popular children's book Charlotte's Web, the title character, a spider, uses her web as an instrument of good to help secure the freedom of Wilbur, a pig on her farm. Federal immigration officials used the book's title to name their latest crackdown in Charlotte, North Carolina, Operation Charlotte's Web. The author's granddaughter drew a sharp contrast Sunday between the federal raids and the ideals E.B. White highlighted in the beloved book in a statement Martha White shared with CNN. Her grandfather, quote, certainly didn't believe in masked men in unmarked cars raiding people's homes and workplaces without IDs or summons, said White, who was also her grandfather's literary executor in the statement. He didn't condone fear-mongering. And even as top Border Patrol official Gregory Bovino, who is from North Carolina, leaned into the Charlotte's Web messaging Sunday, Martha White slammed the agency for riding on the book's coattails with a message to this antithetical to the story her grandfather told. He believed in the rule of law and due process, Martha White said of her grandfather. In Charlotte, we've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars, targeting American citizens based on their skin color, racially profiling and picking up random people in parking lots and off our sidewalks. That was a post from North Carolina Governor Josh Stein. So I'll be honest with you, I thought the name was cool. I was like, oh, that's a great name. I don't know who names these things, but I was like, man, whoever comes up with these names, they came up with a great one. But apparently, Charlotte's Web author E.B. White's granddaughter, Martha, is not at all happy. I had a clip from Charlotte's Web where Wilbur was running around saying there was underneath the some pig. Oh, here it is. Somebody's creating Charlotte's Web memes where spiders are writing time to go home in their webs. That's like the modern day Charlotte's Web. But look, here's the thing. I mean, you know what? You gotta, I love the name too. I love the Charlotte's Web name. I think it's very fitting. And hey, if Charlotte, the city, didn't become a sanctuary for illegal immigrants in the first place, none of this would be happening. I guess I can't find the pig jumping up and down in front of no, that's not it. That's all right. You know what? It doesn't matter. We all remember Charlotte's Web. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you. But I'll just say this. When Charlotte died, oh, darn it. Sorry. There it is. I may have shed a tear. It was very, very heartfelt. Hey, speaking of heartfelt things, don't forget that President Donald Trump is doing everything he can to save this economy. Oh, by the way, let me tell you about the SNAP benefits. Before I tell you about the SNAP benefits, though, because I'm a little ADD today, let me tell you about how you can protect your family's financial future. The best thing you can do to protect your family's financial future is invest in gold through Augusta Precious Metals. If you go to getmarksgold.com right now, getmarksgold.com, you will be able to download a free investment guide from Augusta Precious Metals, which shows you how to invest in a precious metals IRA or investment opportunity, which has grown 25% since Donald Trump has taken back office. 25%. That is a massive amount of growth for any kind of investment. Your Bitcoin, forget it. I saw what happened to your Bitcoin over the weekend. Your stocks, that's a roller coaster, just ready to collapse. Gold is a safe haven investment for a reason. Gold continues to grow. gold continues to get more and more valuable. Your gold investments will grow with you and with time, and they very rarely go down. And in fact, they're the best safe haven investment since President Donald Trump came back to office. So go to getmarksgold.com today, getmarksgold.com, and learn how you can get Marks Gold and protect yourself from any and all, bad things happening to your portfolio. There was another clip I want to play today. This is from, where is it? Did I save it? This is from, well, there's a couple of them. There's Donald Trump bad-mouthing reporters, which is always fun. But then there's this clip, which is about the SNAP benefits. I don't know if you realize this, but when the Democrats voted to shut down the government, and then they complained about SNAP benefits being shut off and saying President Donald Trump needs to, use the emergency funds for SNAP benefits. And Donald Trump was saying, look, we voted a bajillion times now, which is, I think that's an industry term, bajillion. We voted a bajillion times now to fund SNAP, but you keep voting against it. The Democrats voted 15 times to not fund the federal government, which includes SNAP. And all of a sudden, they were complaining about how SNAP benefits were going to expire. Well, gee, if you vote not to fund something, yes, the benefits are going to expire. Well, now that the shutdown is over and SNAP benefits are coming back, President Donald Trump and his administration have decided to do something which makes common sense, makes good wholesome sense, makes good fiscal sense, but is infuriating the Democrats once again. Listen.
Now says that everyone who's on SNAP is going to have to reapply. Now, this happened, of course, when the government shut down and there was, the SNAP benefits were not getting out to the people.
For 42 million Americans.
For 42 million. Well, we thought Americans.
Inside the country.
People is probably the better. Yep. People. And so Brooke Rollins, we had her on and we had a great conversation with her where she said, hey, listen, this whole SNAP benefits conversation around the shutdown has sort of pulled the curtain back, and people are seeing how many people are on SNAP that aren't actually citizens, and they're going to have to reapply. What do you make of this? I think it's very popular, especially if you go online and look at what people think. I think it's a popular initiative to say these benefits are for Americans. Is she going to be able to accomplish this? Is she going to have some legal challenges to it? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure. Everything that comes from the Trump administration, I just track it and see how long it takes for it to land at the Supreme Court. So there are going to be legal challenges. But the thing is, most of these programs with SNAP are administered by the states. And a lot of the states do have verification programs where people have to update every 3 to 6 months or, really establish that they got some kind of need. But maybe she's proposing something at the federal level that would then have a federal component for, applying and proving that you actually need this. Because I think all of us are compassionate Americans. Like, we want our fellow Americans to get help when they need it. And we've all known people, if not our own families, that have walked through these periods of needing this kind of help. But Secretary Rollins also said that she found there were 186,000 checks or SNAP benefits going out to people who were dead. So if that's accurate, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. And there are other problems with the program, too. So I think a lot of Americans would say, gosh, I didn't realize before we were having this conversation there were 42 million people on these benefits. Maybe it's, not such a bad idea. Just have.
Yeah. And in fact, Secretary Rollins, we have that actually. She said they need to
now says that everyone who's on SNAP.
She said they need to re-verify, and she dropped those numbers, which again, I was not at all shocked by. And in fact, I'm thrilled that the government is taking this opportunity because once again, everything is an opportunity. Not everything's a crisis. Not everything's bad. Everything can be an opportunity. And this is an opportunity for the government, for the Democrats to go back and say, hey, look, for the Republicans to go back and say, hey, look, maybe this system wasn't working up to snuff. Maybe we could doge this while at the same time revamping it.
On day one, when I was sworn in, which was earlier this year in February, the very first thing I did was send letters to every single state in America and said, never before has the federal government asked for the data, but it is a new day. President Trump is the president. We know there's a lot of fraud. We need to help partner with you all to figure out how to make sure that this money and these benefits go to those who truly need it and not rife with fraud and corruption. 29 states, mostly the red states, responded with their data sets February, March, April. So the numbers that you're talking through, those are numbers that we have been collecting and analyzing since early summer, late spring. The fact that this spotlight shined on Snap has allowed us to talk about it. But here's the most unbelievable news I have really just over the last few days, that 5,000 dead people, that was just 1 month. The number is closer to 186,000 deceased men and women and children in this country are receiving a check. Now, that is what we're really going to start clamping down on. 500,000 are getting 2. But here's the really stunning thing. This is just data from those 29 mostly red states. Can you imagine when we get our hands on the blue state data, what we're going to find? It's going to give us a platform and a trajectory to fundamentally rebuild this program, have everyone reapply for their benefit, make sure that everyone that's taking a taxpayer-funded benefit through SNAP or food stamps, that they literally are vulnerable and they can't survive without it. And that's the next step here.
You know, the Democrats, they just keep losing. They thought that they could shut down the government. Well, first they lost the election. They lost the presidency. They lost the Senate. They lost the House. They lost all that stuff. Then after that, they were like, well, how can we lose some more? Let's try to challenge the Republicans on the government shutdown so that we can claw back some of those benefits we lost in the one big beautiful bill, which was another big loss, another big L for the Democrats. They lost NPR funding. They lost the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. They lost the health benefits for illegal immigrants. They lost USAID. They lost all kinds of stuff. And so now they're trying to bring it back. They did it by holding us hostage for over a month, for multiple weeks. They did it by putting us in jeopardy and by putting us, putting our travel plans in jeopardy and causing chaos and spending trillions of dollars on lost revenue for the airline industry right before the holidays. They did all of that. And now the Democrats, after overplaying their hand, after misrepresenting themselves, after trying to toy with the SNAP benefits and use it to weaponize the government once again, after they did all of that, now what we're starting to see is the Republicans say, look, you shut down this government. We promised RIFs. We promised there'd be reform. And that's exactly what we're doing. So now that SNAP's back, we're not going to start cutting checks. We want to make sure that the people that are getting the checks are actually people in the United States of America. Oh yeah. And they should probably be alive. And if you can prove that, then you can administer the benefits. But if you can't, then you won't. And that's exactly where we are today. You need to prove that you're a real life person, and then we will be able to help you and willing to help you. But we're not willing to pay dead people benefits, because I'm guessing if SNAP benefits are going out to dead people, it's not those dead people that are actually receiving the benefits. It's somebody else entirely. That's just my guess. I don't know for sure. I will tell you one place where I know the money goes to a good use, and that is with our K's Kids charity and our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, which is coming up here in just a few weeks. My wife and I were talking about it just this weekend. You know, Thanksgiving is next week. It's right around the corner. And then right after Thanksgiving, the following Thursday, is the Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament. So if you have not yet gotten your ticket, you need to get your ticket like ASAP, but like right now. You probably should have gotten it already. We're already starting to put the tables together. We're already starting to plan the menu. We're getting the drink tickets. If you've never been part of our Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, it's at Best Bet in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's coming up on December the 4th. And we would love, love, love to have you there. We would love to have you and your family and your friends come out and play poker with us. It's very casual. We're not competitive poker players. It's not like, I'm not like Johnny Chang or who's the other guy? Phil Hellmuth. It's none of those folks. It's just regular folks having fun on a Thursday night, doing it all to help some kids who are really in need, doing it all to help some kids who have had a rough break in life. They've been dealt some bad cards, and they are looking to really just have a Merry Christmas. K's Kids is our charity. We've done it for over 10 years now. And the reason we're able to do it is because of your donations and because of your support and because you come out and party with us to celebrate Christmas. Now, the Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament, not only do we have food and drinks and $1,000 grand prize, but we also have people dressing up in all kinds of crazy outfits. We have a lot of camaraderie. We have a lot of special gifts. And it is an event like no other. You will not forget. If you've ever been, you know how great it is. If you've never been, come this year, because it is really, truly amazing. Now, where can you get your tickets? I'm glad you asked. You get your tickets at www.kskids.com. There's a link in the show notes too. www.kskids.com. We got all kinds of tickets from VIP to regular admission to spectator. If you get a full table of tickets, you save a lot of money. So get some friends together and grab a whole table. A whole table has 8 people. And if you buy a whole table at once, you get 2 tickets for free. So you get 6 tickets, you get 8 tickets rather for the price of 6. That's phenomenal. And we urge you, don't let the holiday hubbub, leave you behind. Don't forget about it over the holiday break. Make sure you get your tickets today so you're ready to go on December the 4th, which will be here before you know it, for the Ho Ho Hold'em charity poker tournament. We can't wait to see you. Don't forget also to subscribe to this channel, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble, Facebook, or wherever you happen to be listening. Don't forget to like us on your social media platforms and your Spotify and your iTunes. If you're listening to this podcast and maybe it's the first time you listened, make sure you listen a second time and a third and a fourth. Make sure you listen every single day because we've got more stuff coming at you. We've got more attacks coming from the left, the right, the center, everywhere. Everybody's always coming after conservatives. Everybody's always coming after us liberty, love, and freedom defending patriots. And we need to be sure that we stick together, that we keep learning together, that we keep fighting together. Because if we can stick together and if we can learn together and if we can stay inspired together, then we can continue to fight together so that we can save the republic. Okay, I think there's an after party today, right? It's Monday. Yeah, it's Monday and I'm not off today. So we're going to do a quick after party. If you want to join us, go to katriots.com.